Okay, so in the previous video, what we were doing is just to getting started. We created a basic HTML page. We have the JSON file, and we have an HTTP server running in here in the port 8080. And we have a browser where we can see the results, okay? The other thing I was telling you all is that how to use AI for this type of things. So the thing I have to show in here, if I can find it, is that I went to Claude, and then here is a general prompt that I use that could help me have Claude help me learn HTML, okay? So remember, I recommend you do not go and ask it to write the whole code, because it will write it. And it's actually very good at writing HTML and CSS and JavaScript, at least for the basic stuff. But you need to learn what it is generating, because if you don't learn that, when it makes a mistake, first, if it makes a mistake and you don't know what it is what it is generating, then you don't know it made a mistake. And second, if it made a mistake and you need to fix it, then you need to still understand the code. So sadly, we are still stuck on having to learn things the whole way. But we can use things like this. So what I said in there, and I want you to take a look at the prompt, is that, and by the way, it's all capital letters because I was just dictating to it using like Mac dictation, so I will look cool and fancy. So I was telling it, I want you to role play as a professional software engineer. And you can see, didn't get my crappy English. For full stack applications. Answer the following question. If you were to design a carefully created HTML page to show Airbnb listings for San Francisco, what HTML tags will you use? What will be the structure? And please notice this, because unless I tell it this, it actually will run into writing the code. But you want to learn. So I told it, do not write any code. Instead, tell me the structure you will use. And I actually like the response it gave me. It actually taught me things I didn't know. Like, for instance, like this is the general document structure. So it's telling me that we have the HTML, the head, the body, etc., etc. And then here are the primary layout components. So it's telling me, like, probably I will put a header section with an app and a form, a main content, and then I will be using the article for the different listings, okay? Something else you could go and put into Claude is give me MDN links to it, or what does this tag does, and then also give me MDN resources, because remember, we want to be using MDN as the main source of information. In any case, I thought it was an interesting experiment, so let's actually go and start building that in here. So remember, we have here the JSON file, and then we know that we want to add this thing. So the only thing I have to do in there, it's that I am just going to put like an H2, and then I'm just putting that in there. So again, I am not going to be explaining directly like each one of the tags, but I'm going to be using some and then telling you. So please write this thing down as well. Every HTML page should have only one H1. It should have one and only one H1. The H1 is the header. As you can see, it is showing up like this. And it is going to contain the context, the description of the page. So the reason why you want that, it's for multiple reasons. First, because it is going to be showing a title for the page for the user. Second, because if you are a blind user, then this is going to tell the screen reader what the page is about. Third, because of machines. So in the past, for search engines like Google, when they scrape the page, this is the title that is going to be shown on the listing on Google. Fourth, now with machine learning and LLMs and things like that, it is also actually useful because it tells the LLM what the page is about. So actually there is people nowadays in fall 2025 that are trying to hack, doing prompt injection, different attacks, so they can increase their search engine optimization, SEO, so that LLMs will show their pages as the first result, which is quite interesting. In any case, once you have something like this, then if you follow all of the tutorial for the other video on installing Prettier and things like that, one of the nice things is that I can come here, Command-Shift-P, and then say format, document. I think this one is the one. Oh yes, he did it. So I already am used to running directly with the keyboard. So I think it's Option Shift F or Command Shift P and then format document, and that is done by having Prettier installed and then also having, I think, the Prettier. So if you see here are the ones I have installed. Cloud Code for all of my experiments in there. The specific one I'm talking about in there is this Prettier, which is Code Formatter. And what the Code Formatter it is doing for us in there is that it organizes the whole code, and I strongly recommend you to have that installed so you will have this element. Okay, good. So now that I have those things, then I can start creating my page. But let's try to follow what Claude was recommending. So in HTML is a language that it's a hierarchical language. So basically everything in HTML, everything by maybe the doc type, should have an opening and a close tag. And it should be hierarchical, okay? So you cannot have, for instance, something like this. So if I take this title, I cannot put that in there. And actually, this is nice because now you can see Prettier is telling me that there is an error with that. So the reason why you cannot have that is because you see I'm opening this head and then I'm opening this title and I'm closing the head before I'm closing the title. So everything inside a tag should be self-contained, okay? So that is what this thing is showing. You can use a lot of tricks for this. There are some linters for HTML. We can look at those if you want during office hours to help you make sure that your code is correct, okay? But that's one of the main rules. The other thing that is very important is that usually an HTML page, as I mentioned before, had multiple types of tags. We have a head tag, which contains our meta information in here. So for instance, this one in here, you can see here it says, says document also. We want it to be showing like the title. So if I change that, now you can see it shows that in there. And then the body where the main content actually resides. So the things that you put in here are more for the description of the page, what is the author, SEO, and things like that. Whereas here is actually the contents. So having said that, I already created that this is going to be a service apartment, blah, blah, blah. And let's go and start putting like some other information from that. So for instance, let's say that I want to see who is the host name. So I can go and put that in there. And then I'm going to put that into a div. And actually, I'm going to put into a div that has the class host. And notice how I use the trick from Emmet. I'm saying div.host, and when we see CSS, you're going to see why that makes sense. For the moment, if I just say div.host, then it creates this thing, and then I can just put that in there, and then I can go and say this one, okay? So I can keep on looking for the other ones in here, like for instance, here is the price. So this is the price per night. Actually, I think it actually went down over time. In 2025, I think the listing is cheaper nowadays. So 185, and you can even start adding, and by the way, I forgot adding here the specific class. So let's go and say that this is going to be the price. And then let's put some other of this information. Like for instance, I want to have the picture URL. So if I go on, I just put the picture URL in here, it's going to show up like something like this. But usually what you want to be doing is to use an image tag. And inside that image tag, I am going to put into the source attribute. I'm going to put the URL that I'm giving. And then every time, please write this down. Every time you create an image in HTML, make sure that you provide a clear alt text. This alt text that you see in here is the description that will be used. Like for instance, in this case, thumbnail for service. Da, da, da. It should be something that if a blind person hears that, it should describe what the image is. Okay, so here is a thumbnail or a photo, and then you can see that the thing is huge. Okay. Oh, I used to have that same couch. So, but basically, I want you also to notice some other elements in there. And it's that, as I was saying, like all of the tags are supposed to have a closing tag. Sometimes though, like it could be a self-closing tag. So notice that this IMG, it doesn't really have contents, and we can see that in a minute in the MDN documentation. Actually, let's go and search for that. MDN, let's say HTML element attributes maybe, or reference could be. Let's see if that works. Oh, they keep on, oh, but those are all the HTML document, like a tag, probably. HTML element syntax, is this it? No, come on, that's too technical. Where is it? Introduction to HTML, maybe. Creating links, basic HTML syntax. Here you go. So they have some very good graphs of that. So basically we have an opening tag and then a closing tag. The closing tag always goes with the slash, and then this becomes the content. This whole thing, it's called an element, okay? With an opening tag and a closing tag, and the name of the tag in this case is P, okay? Apart from that, you can also nest elements, so that's why I'm telling you, you should go and read all of those things in there, and then comes the attributes. So the attributes are things like this. I'm saying inside the tag, the opening tag, inside the opening tag, you put a sequence of attribute name equals, and then an attribute value. Usually those attribute values are supposed to be strings, so that's why you put them in quotes, in double quotes, I like. Okay, so you have the name of the attribute, and then this is the value of the attribute, okay? And then you can also have other elements that are closed like that. And as you can see, you can even have like Boolean values. So make sure to read all of these in case you haven't done HTML in the past. Okay, so having done that, I have this thing. And then as I was showing you here, like the image is huge. That is too big. So usually we don't want to change the look and feel of the page directly in HTML, but since we haven't learned yet anything from CSS, let's change an attribute from the image, which tells me what is the maximum width, or the actual width that all of those photos are going to have. And now we have this element. Does that make sense? Okay. But the problem is that things are starting to get a little bit messy, and we can organize. And that's where the advice that Claude gave us, it's actually very useful. So one of the things Claude said is that I can go and put, like, here is going to be my main content, and then I'm going to put this main content in here. And I don't know if you notice, but I'm always running like this Option Shift F, which runs prettier for me, and it adjusts all of the indentation automatically. And then also Claude recommended, and I kind of like that idea. Let's go and say that this is going to be a section, and that section is going to be like the listings. Okay, notice that if I want that section to be including that, I put it like that, and then that's where the indentation becomes very useful. And you can also play with this folding to make sure that you're having things exactly as you want them. And then each one of the listings, and I'm going to say this is going to be one listing, I'm going to be using the article tag. Okay, so what is the article tag? So you just go article HTML element MDN, and then here it's a description, it's the content element, it works like that. You can have sub articles, and I actually never thought of using article for that, but I think it makes a lot of sense. And here you have like a bunch of different examples. Okay, this is interesting because you can even use sections within the article, so I like that. So you could use that if you want to get fancy with this. Notice that this is listings and this is just listing, and that could be useful later in the CSS. So now I have that element. And then I can keep on copying stuff from this. So for instance, here it's going to be the description. So the description, and then I just put that in there and I run prettier, and then you can see here is the full description. Okay. And then what else should I put in there? Like for instance, maybe what is the current rating for that? I wonder if we have that in here. So we actually have the rating and then let's go and put the rating in here. So this is going to be the rating, and then I put that in there. Okay. Now I can go and say even like a little star in here, like how many stars it has, and you can see that. Sadly, things are not very well organized, but at the very least, we have semantically, and that's the purpose of HTML, we have everything in the correct location. Okay. So let me make sure that I'm showing this correctly. Perfect. Okay, good. What else? So the other one that I can do, so I can close this one. Actually, let me go and put this into a footer. I can go and move that in here because that is going to be that one in there. And then this could be like into sections you can go. Actually, very advanced with that. The other one that it is very common is for you to have a header. And inside that header, actually, let me go and you can see that Copilot just revived. And it's actually providing like a kind of like good recommendation. So let's pay attention to Copilot and then just put that in there. You can have like a navigation bar in here that has like multiple elements. Like for instance, I can go and say, I think it's times 2 li. No, it probably is like this. There we go. Home, and then about, or something like that. And that's going to be like your navigation. That makes sense? So again, just to recap, HTML basically defines the contents and the elements of this. You can see that now we have a nice organized and well-organized like header. I have like all the different listings. In order for this to make a little bit more sense, one of the things I can do is that I can put a horizontal line in here, and then I can just copy and paste this. And then another trick I recommend you is that if you shift click the collapse button, then it's going to collapse all of the first children inside the list, the tag that you're collapsing. So that way you can see that we have 3 listings which are actually showing up in here. Okay, please do let me know if you have any questions, and then practice on that. I guess one final thing I want to tell you about will be about the URLs. I wonder if I can find that quickly in here. MDN HTML URL. So that is the technical one. Do they have another one? Maybe this one. Structuring content. Blah blah blah. Definitely not. Damn it. Document. Maybe this one. You should note. Damn it. Where is it? How do I find it? Input type URL. No. URL construct. What it's this one has to be. Yeah, perfect. So if you take a look at this one in here, this is a good description of what an URL is. So as I told you before, you needed to name this file index.html, because the way we find pages on web servers is as if it was a file server. So when I come in here and I just go and tell it, give me the index.html, it gives me this page. But if you say, give me listings.html, it doesn't find it, unless I come in here and I actually rename this to be listings. So if I do that and I refresh here, now it works. Does it make sense? So basically, like the first thing is that the default resource, when you don't specify what is the specific resource that you want, the index.html it's going to be that default result. So that's why when I don't specify one, it works like that. Okay, so what are the elements on the URL? The anatomy of the URL is, first you have the scheme. Usually it's going to be HTTP. Actually here in 2025, it tends to be normally HTTPS. Chrome doesn't even show it anymore. Here it is, which is a secure version of HTTP that encrypts everything, and it uses certificates for authentic ciphering, or like encrypting the communication in a way that it shouldn't, like a person in the middle shouldn't be able to see what is the traffic that is going between the client and the server. Then it has the domain name. When we are doing the local host development, our domain name is going to be just localhost because we don't have anything deployed yet. Then it has the port. In this case, the default is the port 80, although for HTTPS is 443. In here, we are in 8080, and you can change that when you start the HTTP server as well. And then comes the specific path to your file. So that path, when it says path to my file, if you want to create that specific file, it will be something like path, and then inside that folder, another one that it's called to, and inside that folder, oh, actually not another folder, but a file, a new file that is called myfile.index.html. So that is the specific path. So if you want to find that resource, it's going to have to be something like that. And then after that, you can also add parameters and then anchors. The anchor helps you moving within the page. The parameters are elements that we are going to see later in JavaScript that you can capture for passing information. Okay. For the moment, these are the basics. Make sure that you have understood all of these elements and you have read all of these tutorials, and then do let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.